Good morning, gentlemen. In our series of discussion on situation, today we will be talking about person, situation, environment, special with a special reference to Services Selection Board. As you all have understood, a situation is nothing but a set of fleeting, dynamic, momentary circumstances that do not lie within a person, but in their surroundings. Anything outside is called a situation. We have already discussed that the situation affects the person and person in turn affects a situation. Without getting into the details, we would understand that there are three situation information which are important. We call it cues, characteristics, and classes. Cues is something happening in our environment which we interpret as need of a response. So in every situation that is available in front of us, it expects that we will respond or react to that. It may be, even if you look at an animal in front of you, so reaction is what, or response is what? Either to avoid it, avoid the animal who is coming in your path, get aside, or let it go. Then we have got characteristics. Characteristics are the psychologically meaningful interpretation of situation formed from a single or multiple cues once they have been implicitly or explicitly processed. In the last series, we discussed that if you're walking on the road and there is a snake, so there is one cue. And if you say it's dark, that's another cue. So both cues added together creates its own characteristics, or it modifies the situation itself. And that modified situation in turn has got certain effect on us, the way we all are going to act or react. Then we have got classes. Each situation can be classified in different classes. As per that, we have already said that one of the componential approach to situation was we can think ourselves to the perceiver, the person who is affected by situation itself, and the way situation and perceiver react with each other. That's what is there. And this can be talked in terms of frequency of such situation, valence, and what we call activation. So all these, they have got three ratings: frequency rating, valence rating, and activation. We have already talked in the last series. Now, just to sum it up, what we have talked about, overall taxonomy of any situation are firstly the cues. They are called pearls: person, events, activities, roles, location, and state. Then called a reversible six, they call it, situation, perception, dimension, they call it reversible six. There's a threat, stress, task, processing, fun, and mundaneness. Sometimes it is avoided, but still it forms part of one of the dimensions of the situation. And then the empirical taxonomy of situation characteristics are we call diamond. Diamond is either we perceive a threat to be adversity or deception, stress as negativity, task as duty, processing as intellect, fun as mating, positivity, or sociability makes it diamond. Based upon big five, we call it dominance, aggression, negative effect, achievement, situational stress, and positive effect. One of the ways of classifying these situations are interpersonal conflict, joint working and information, intimacy and interpersonal relationship, recreation, traveling, rituals, sports, excesses, and serving or trading. Then, gentlemen, this can also have what we call a lexical, based upon that is the vocabulary. In English vocabulary, its threat is taken as negative valence, stress is taken as adversity, task is taken as important, and processing is complexity. Fun can be positive valence or humor, and mundane activities can have n number of varieties on there. Similarly, we also talk theory of taxonomy that SAP, situational affordance for adaptive problems, use of evolution theory. That is SAP they call it. So threat is regarded as psychological or physical load onto an individual or the perceiver, and a stress regarding cognitive load, task, outcome expectancy, then processing, again a cognitive load. Fun is briskness, the way with which you enjoy that fun moment. And mundaneness is probably natural stimuli which is not going to affect you much. Then because this situation interdependent state. So threat is a kind of oddness. Every day you don't keep visiting test every time. You don't meet them every time. Stress is negative, demandingness they call it. Task is straightforwardness. Fun is positivity. And mundaneness is everything familiar to us. The way we react to the normal situation, that is called familiar. They are the ways of classification. Now let's talk about the TAT pictures. Here you can see number of pictures. Based upon these parameters, I have tried to assign cues. Here it is a boy in a storm, so it is a person. Characteristic now, it is tagged will be, it's adversity. Replicable 6 is a threat because you have to protect yourself. Class, he is traveling around there. In this particular, the boy is sitting in the chair, he's thinking about it. So it means he's a certain state of mind, temporary state of mind, which may be sadness, maybe another problem that is brooding in his head. Then characteristic negativity, it creates a stress onto him. And then the way that he is talking to the elderly person, it can be intimacy or interpersonal relationship. That is what is going to the class. Here, a person is now trying to repair a vehicle. So it's an activity. Character duty, it can be a task, then a trading down there. Here is the role of all our dead body is being carried by a nurse. So it's a role. Characteristic is again a role, intellect, and then serving, because that is what she is supposed to be doing it. It's a group of people being addressed by an individual. So it's an event. Taxonomy is a sociability. Replicable 6 is fun, joint working and information exchange. That is what is the total class. You can classify this. Similarly, a person looking at in the sky, probably there may be a drought time, maybe a flood time. I do not know what is there, but it talks about location. That is what is there. It's a deception. You don't know whether the rain will come or excess rain is there. Then the processing. He's trying to process, looking at the atmosphere, what type of, when to expect rain, and all sorts of activity depending upon his own perception. So that is excesses. That is something which is severe, which is going to hit him around there. Okay. Having seen that, this situation is rarely being seen. Generally, violence is there. It's an unpleasant situation. It is activities is tense. It's activity because it forces you to react. It forces you to react. So the factor 1 and 4 generally will come into play here. When you be trying to classify based upon our SSB factors. Similarly, in this case, it's often happened. Many times we find a small little problem keeps coming to us. Probably I may not have good marks. Probably when I've gone for a walk, it is not being completed. So many things can afford to be there. So that will keep on happening around in our day-to-day affair. But it's an unpleasant situation because the task has not been done or there is some problem in solving it. It's a tense moment. Again, factor 2 and factor 4 comes to play here. That is what really expected. So the design of any situation or the stimuli that you are talking, it has got a scientific psychological phenomena. Here is a common mundane activities. It's often it happens with everyone is working for his livelihood. It's a pleasant moment. He enjoys working because he is going to get money rewarded for whatever his job he does. Interesting, but not very activating in any case. And it's factor 1 because until he has got intelligence, he can't solve the problem. And factor 2 because he has to interact and manage the customer relations will have to maintain. So factor 2 also comes to play. Similarly, so this is the way. This is one way of situation, they are of representing a situation. Within a situation. Okay. Now let's talk about WAT. Let's say ability. Ability, uses is a role. Then characteristic is intellect. We requires intellect to solve the if you have the ability, it has to be related to intellect. Replicacy is a task, and factor 1 is important around there. Dirty is a state. Then characteristic is a negativity, because some sort of negative effect has come into play. It creates a stress, and normally you will find factor 2, that is social adaptability, cooperation, sense of responsibility comes to play. Adult, a person. That's how you are. And now means you must perform a duty. And it's a task which has to be performed. So factor 2, that is you are being an adult, you have to manage people in and around that environment, the social activities. And finally, you have to leadership quality emerges there as adult. Yes, even a factor 4 will come into play if you are trying to achieve something, that the dynamic qualities. Similarly, with afraid, activity, adversity, threat, and factor 4. So we can keep on analyzing all the particular situation in this way. So every situation, similarly, we can talk for SRT, situation reaction test. Now, as far as ability is concerned, we require this ability very often, because even if I'm writing, I must have ability to write. I must have ability to walk. I must have ability to see. I must have ability to show. It's an ability. And if I am ability, it's always a pleasant. What the valence rating will have to be pleasant. Activation. If I have to perform, it is very activating. And it creates alpha press as well beta. Alpha is what is really existing. And how do I perceive the beta press? Naturally, factor 1 comes to play here. Similarly, even let's say, I'll take one more example, dirty. Frequency, this we keep encountering this substitute quite often. And its valency is unpleasant. And normally, we always try and blame others. There may be a kachra lying on the road. We always, what is happening around there? People are not performing the job, or the municipality is not performing. So always we take it other side. It's the perception is very, very different from what the actual situation is. And then listen, factor 2 comes to play. So they have all the WAT, TAT, and SRT can be classified. Now let's come back to G2 task. First task is the group discussion. Group discussion has got a person, cues, because you are participating. It requires your brain, the intellect is there. It is a task which must be performed, and your all factor 1, 2, and 3 comes to play. Group planning exercise, it's a state. Why it is state? Because you do not know how the things are going to go. You have to compete with each other. You have to solve a problem. Character is negative. Why negativity around there? You have to find my solution is better or his solution is better. You start and you come under stress. All these factors come to play. Progressive group task, half task, and final group task. Again, similarly, this is the way, one of the way in which we can characterize all the situations available. Now let's come back to the interviewing officer. Interviewing officer, he has got rapport building. Rapport building, initially he go around there, he will ask you, okay, how is Allahabad? How do we come? What was the train? Was the train the right time or not? What do you eat? And all sorts of mundane activity in mind research. He is trying to find out how he is trying to put you at ease. So that is sociability comes to play. And to answer those particular trivial questions which does not require your brain to think about it, naturally it is one of the fun portion. And it requires, are you in a position to get into the friendly mode or not? The factor 2 comes to play. Now next comes here's working. If you are working, he'll ask question on work experience. So it's an activity which you have performed, or you are performing now. So character is duty and replicates the task which you have been performing. All 4 factors will come into play because they are getting judged. Education and training. He's trying to, how was your education? If probably class 8 or class 10 or what engineering or what you are doing at present. That comes into education training. So it's an event oblique a person. It requires a brain, that is intellect. And it has to, how well are you in a position to process those how utilize those education and training. So it naturally factor 1 comes to play. Early home background, what a role and responsibility you have taken since the beginning in your house or in and around the area. So there's a sociability comes to play, stress is there, and factor 2 and 3 will also come to play. Present social adjustment, roles, activities that you are involved with, sociability, fun, and all these factors. So this is how all particular. So what aim of this presentation today, or this video, is only to apprise you that we must really think about every activity that is being done in SSB is basically a situation, and I must react to the situation. What is situation, gentlemen? Situation is nothing, but it gives flexibility to act. It requires certain response or certain reaction, and if it requires certain reaction, I must react or respond properly. I always say it's a reaction is like a street dog, and that street dog keeps barking on each and every person going on the street. Where response is like a trained dog who responds at the right time with the right degree. With the right degree. So those situations are created in SSB, and if you want to make a dent, it is necessary you use your brain and your heart together. As we always say, if you want to pass SSB, you must be having head first. Because without air, options are supposed to take decisions. When the bullets are flying left, right, center, you do not know how, you don't even have time to react. So that is the time you must use your intellect in that part of the moment itself, because you have no time to react. Then you must also be a good human, because you are a person who is controlling what hundreds of men who are following you. Their life and death depends upon you. So you ought to be a good human. Why should they die for you? So there has to be creation. There has to be some the motive will have to be created. That comes to social activity. Thirdly, you ought to be a good leader. That involves initiative, speed of decision, self-confidence, ability to influence group, and liveliness. There will be a problem in the life, in the battlefield. And finally, you have to be a dynamic person. That we say. So the first three factors are basically force, and last the distance, the displacement. And both these put together only makes the work. So if you want to make a dent, it is necessary to analyze all situations in a right way and try and respond to the situation rightly, so that your characteristics are recognized. Hope this video will give you a bit more idea about the various activities that have been, situations that have been created in SSB. I have tried to briefly sum up this. We'll come back more on the situation in next video. Thanks. Hope you like it.